Okay, let me offer my prayers. Om Ajnanatimiraandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurvanmilitanena Tashmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Gadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Ladita Shri Vishakan Tamsham He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचना गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी ऋषभानुस्तुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिन् इति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Okay, let me share my screen. Okay. Hare Krishna devotees, please welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. I seek blessing from Guru Krishna and all assembled devotees so that I can speak something meaningful. Today I'm going to read text 27 and 28. Let me read both of them and then we can discuss. Utsir Dhatumalam Nirbidyata Vaigudam Tata Payus Tato Mitra Utsarga Ubayashayaham Utsir Dhatumalam Nirbidyata Vaigudam Tato Payus Tato Mitra Utsarga Ubayashayaham. Okay. Utsir desiring to evacuate, Dhatumalam, refuse of eatables, Nirbhidyata, became open. Why? Certainly. Gudam, the evacuating hole, Tata, thereafter, Paya, the evacuating sense organ, Tata, thereafter, Mitraha, the controlling demigod, Utsargaha, the substance evacuated, Ubaya, both, Ashrayaha, shelter. Translation. Thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating hole, anus, and the sensory organ thereof developed along with the controlling deity, Mitra. The sensory organ and evacuating substance are both under the shelter of controlling deity. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Even in the matter of evacuating stool, the refuse is controlled. So how can the living entity claim to be independent? Let me read the next verse as well. Ashishipso purapuraya nabidvaram apanatah tatrapanasthato mrityuhu pratatvam ubhayashayam. Ashishipso purapuraya nabidvaram apanatah tatrapanasthato mrityuhu pratatvam upayashayam. Ashishipto. desiring to go everywhere. Pura, in the different bodies. Puraya, from one body. Nabidwaram, the navel or abdominal hole. Apanataha was manifested. Tatra, thereupon. Apanaha, stopping of the vital force. Tata, thereafter. Mrityuhu, death. Prataktvam, separately. Ubhaya, both. Ashrayam, shelter. Translation. Thereafter, when he desired to move from one body to another, the navel and air of departure and death were combinedly created. The navel is the shelter for both, namely death and the separating force. Purport. The pranavayu continues the life, and apanavayu stops the living force. Both the vibrations are generated from the abdominal hole, the navel. The navel is the joint from the body to the other. Lord Brahma was born of the abdominal hole of Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu as a separate body. And the same principle is followed even in the birth of any ordinary body. The body of the child develops from the body of the mother. And when the child is separated from the body of the mother, it is separated by cutting the navel joint. And that is the way the Supreme Lord manifested himself as separated being. The living entities are therefore separated parts, and thus they have no independence. Okay. 27th translation is thereafter, when he desired to evacuate the refuse of eatables, the evacuating hole, anus, and the sensory organ thereof developed along with the controlling deity Mitra. The sensory organ and the evacuating substance are both under the shelter of the controlling deity. So, who is the controlling deity mentioned here? Is Mitra, who controls the refuse of our eatables. We eat, right? After eating, some substance of food are accepted by the body and the rest of the stuffs removed from the body. So eating and removing the waste product is also controlled by the demigod called Mitra. So in this chapter, we are seeing how different parts of our body functioning specific function is a result of Lord's desire. So this verse is saying that to evacuate this waste substance from the body, different arrangements have made. As a result of that, some outlets are made, and those outlets are controlled by different demigod. Here it is said Mitra. So Srila Prabhupada is saying that we can't even pass stool by ourselves. We don't have control over evacuating system also. Then where is the question of becoming independent, right? So living entities are not independent. They are always being controlled by divine arrangement of Supreme Personality of Godhead. But living entities are illusion. In Bhagavad Gita, it says that Prakrite Kriyamanani Gunai Karmani Sarvashaha Ahankara Vimodatma Karta Ham Iti Manyate. Right? So, in the material nature, Prakriti Kriyamanani, everything is happening according to Gunai Karmani Sarvasha, meaning according to the Guna and Karma. And these gunas are controlled by different demigods. We are like puppets, and puppeteers are three gunas. But in ignorance, the soul, deluded by false identification with the body, thinks of itself as a doer. So from the spiritual side, if we say everything happens by guna and karma, but science doesn't talk about three gunas, right? So what science says is, other day when I was reading an article, it was saying that in the cortex of the brain, there is one region called homunculus. Homunculus basically it depicts the whole body, meaning it has a mapping of all our sense organs in the homunculus. It is a small region in the human brain which controls the different parts of the body. Um, we are thinking that we are lifting the hand or we are lifting our head, but it is actually part of the homunculus is stimulated and causing the hand to raise, or causing our head to raise. So modern science can go up to that. They can see whatever is happening to different parts of the body is happening in different region of homunculus. Homunculus has a region for hands, it has region for legs, it has a region for head, and so forth. So whenever there is a stimulation in that particular region of homunculus, corresponding part of the body is activated. So this is what modern science understands. But the real question is, um, what is causing the simulation to homunculus? That they cannot answer. But Bhagavad Gita answers this. It is because of karmic reaction, prakriti guna karma. So our guna and karma activates this and behaves accordingly. For example, say if you are walking on a street and a dog comes nearby, we see different reactions. Maybe one person may run away and other person may sit there and pet the dog. But if you see, the action is one, but we are seeing different reactions. It is because of our guna and karma, we behave differently. So, whatever action we see on the body is ultimately a gross reaction, but subtle reaction is taking place in the brain, right? That is influenced by guna and karma. Um, Guna, if you see, the guna is actually exhibited from the mind, intelligence, and false ego. So, brain, we can say that brain is the seating place for mind, intelligence, and false ego, which is our subtle body. But heart is the seating place for our soul. So, we have been controlled by our subtle body, or we can say that we have been controlled by our brain, right? As long as we are depending on our subtle body, that is brain, we are controlled by material nature. But when we think from the heart, meaning when we completely surrender to Krishna, who is sitting in the heart, and then and we are not relying on the brain, and we are relying on super soul, then brain surrenders to him, and at that point onwards, Krishna takes charge, right? So when we completely surrender to Krishna and we completely depend on him, demigods for all our senses resign, because boss has taken over the jiva senses that time, and who is also called a Rishikesha, right? So at this state, we are not under the influence of material nature and not under mercy of any demigods. So basically what I'm trying to say is this verse is explaining that there is a controlling deity for our sense organ, because we should know that we are not this body and we are not independent. In the 28th verse, it says, Ashish Ripso Purapurya Navidwaram Apanatha. When Jiva has desire to move from one body to another body to enjoy this material nature, then abdominal hole, Nabidwarm is manifested. Then Tatrapanas Tato Mrityu. This verse says that the navel is the shelter for two things: Mrityu, that is death, and the separating force. Um, we have seen in the previous verses that how karmendriyas are created, and the presiding deities or demigods who are in charge for those senses. Many verses in this chapter is explaining individual sense organs and corresponding deities, right? Because we should know that we are not this body and we are not independent. If you see, assembly line in car manufacturing factory, right? At every point, a part is assembled, and at the end of the assembly line, a new car is ready. So you can see in the same way that this body is also assembled with all parts, which helps to enjoy this material world. But if you want to progress in the spiritual life, we should be very clear that our body is only a machine, and I have nothing to do with this machine. Right? We should know that I am a spirit soul. I am a passenger. I have my own house in the abode of Krishna. I have come here as a traveler. Since I am foreigner to this material nature, I have been given a special machine, which is this body. Since living being is in the Maya, it forgets this concept and desires to have different body to enjoy according to its desire. Then obviously nature provides different body based on the karma and desire, but all bodies will have the same machinery part. Since it is a machine, it will not be according to our internal desires. There is always some difficulties in the body, right? For example, say, even if you buy very high-end car, you still see some limitations or some problem over a period of time, right? In the same way, since this body is also like a machine, you will find some difficulties which blocks us enjoying the material nature. So then living entity aspires for new body to enjoy the material nature. So that time here we see Purapurya Nabidwaram. So the change of bodies happens. Uh, so now change of body means what? So once again the navel has to be cut. The purport says that once again the navel has to be cut. In this world, when one takes birth, he is separated from the mother by cutting the navel cord. But we get human life to stop this cutting of navel cord, meaning stopping life and death cycle. Human life is the only life where we can do this. Then we won't enter the womb of a mother. When we aspire for a better life, more happiness, or if you and we are not able to fulfill this in this lifetime, then there is a new body is ready for us, and then again we enter the womb of the mother. So if we, say, even if you are totally in mode of goodness, some people say if you do good job and then you will get all good results, then why you worry about birth and death, right? So even if we are totally in mode of goodness and we have all good karma, even if you assume that, we still get four problems that Krishna says: Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, right? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Nobody can escape those four problems. So in material world, we celebrate Janma. Whenever there is a birth, we celebrate it. But if you go and tell that Bhagavatam or Bhagavad Gita that, today is my birthday, uh, um, um, Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita ask, oh, one more time you enter the womb of mother? One more time you cut the navel joint? Where did you go wrong? These kind of questions, the Bhagavatam asks. After completing the human life, if we are entering into womb of another mother, then it is total failure of that life. Actually, it is a revolutionary concept, right? Entering womb of mother again and again is a failure of life. This is the concept Bhagavatam is teaching. Um, when one hears this concept for the first time, this can bring a revolution in their life, right? So, so that's why devotee says, no more taking a body. Trying to get good body to enjoy the life is a bad bargain. Srila Prabhupada also says in many places that make best use of bad bargain, right? When living entity has younger body, they don't understand why this body is the problem, because the mind and body helps each other. But he feels he has a, and then he feels that he has a permanent body. But when he becomes old, then he realizes that body is the problem to enjoy the life, right? Srila Prabhupada says devotees who have understood this, they need to preach that this is we are soul, not the body. Then we are in the when we are in the body, our enjoyment, our happiness, our freedom, everything is curtailed. So intelligent person understands that this body has many limitations, right? Actually, you cannot really truly enjoy anything with this body, right? Even Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati says, only someone who has got life, he will preach. Someone who is dead cannot preach. Meaning one who identifies himself with the body, he is a dead body. He cannot preach. So in this verse, 28th verse, the last line says, um, the living entities are therefore separated parts, and thus they have no independence. That means we are dependent on Krishna. That means we have to obey Krishna's order, right? Srila Prabhupada and all Acharya wanted to convey this message to everybody that you are not this body, you are the spirit soul. And Krishna also gives the same message in Bhagavad Gita, right? In 1868, it says that ya idam paramam guhyam mad bhakte swabhidashyati bhaktim mayi param krutva mame vaishastya samshayah. Right? Let me read the translation here. For one who explains the supreme secret, that is, we are not this body, we are spirit soul, to the devotees, pure devotional service is guaranteed, and at the end, he will come back to me. Even in 18.69, that is next verse, it says, Nacha tasman manushyesu kaschin me priya krittamaha bhavita nacha me tasmad anya priya taro bhuvi. There is no servant in this world more dear to me than he, nor will there ever be one more dear. So whoever preaches this, they are very dear to Krishna. Right? Mahaprabhu also gave the same message in many places that whoever you see, just preach Krishna Katha. He knows that it is very pleasing to the Lord. And Srila Prabhupada also, he said, if you have life, you have to preach. So in this chapter, Srimad Bhagavatam is explaining individual parts of the sense organs and the corresponding deities, because we should know that we are not this body and we are not independent. So one who understands this, they will progress in the spiritual path. So that's all I wanted to convey in this. If you have any comments, reflection, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, please accept my humble obeisances. All
Hare
glories
Krishna
to
Mataji.
all glories to Guru Maharaj Srila Prabhupada. I joined a little bit late, but a very nice class, and I like the new car in the assembly line. Just wanted to make sure what you were saying about the pure devotee's body. Since he is so completely surrendered to Krishna, then the demigods are not in control anymore of his senses. Is that what he said?
Yeah, that is also my understanding, Mataji. When you are completely surrendered to Krishna, basically he takes over, right? That's why Arjuna also called him as Rishikesha, meaning you take over my senses. right?
Oh, okay, okay.
So yeah, and
Then,
then he directed him, right?
okay.
Otherwise, we are under the influence of Maya or all other demigods. They will control our guna.
Okay. I just wanted to hear that again. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Very nice class. Mhm.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabhu. I think I think these very difficult verses, but you got a connected very well.
Yeah, it's
So
very difficult to explain all these things. at least for me.
yeah, no, I was just thinking for anyone, Prabhu, this whole section is actually I think Maharaj was giving in a different way, right? So it will be hard for
Yeah,
us like him.
that's true.
Yeah, it's like I mean, one thing you mentioned about I think almost at the end of the class, right? I mean, when a person gets very old, right? That time they will realize that the importance of the vehicle that one got it, right,
Hmm.
in a foreign land, because until that time people doesn't understand the, I mean, yeah, we think that we live forever,
That's
right? So
true.
it's very difficult. I mean, for any common person, including, I mean, many of us, maybe some of us, don't want to say many of us. So I mean, it's very hard to understand, right? I mean, though we know theoretically, so it's very difficult to accept it or realize it. So, and the last one from Bhagavad Gita, you mentioned about that verse. I mean, I know this discussion came, I mean, I think in the Maharaj class as well, right? So, Krishna says if somebody explains this science to devotees, right? So, I think maybe he might be talking about not, of course, pure devotees, somebody who has some faith in the Supreme Lord, right? Is that right understanding, Prabhu? Is that your understanding also? I
Yeah,
mean,
I
of
mean,
course, the other one is the
not.
Tesham Satyayuktanam. Then they discuss. I mean, if the devotees get together, they talk about Krishna from the 10th chapter, right? But I think Krishna is talking about here somebody who explains this science to, I mean, somebody who is non envious, right? I think a couple of verses before and after he says. So, I mean, either a devotee who is, I mean, of course, pure devotees anyway, they discuss about the Supreme Lord. So, but I think this science, whatever Krishna talked about in the Bhagavad Gita, if somebody explains this to a devotees, I mean, who are non envious of the Lord, right? So or may not be pure devotees. So I think
No,
that is
I
that's
think
what I was.
my understanding is, giving this knowledge to anybody, right,
Mm, mm.
uh, is dear to Krishna.
Yeah, but
Like
why
he'll
my
be dear.
my point I was thinking actually why some pure devotee needs this knowledge, right? So I mean I was that from that perspective I was thinking. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. So that is my understanding. It is not with only pure devotee or devotees. It's giving this knowledge to general public.
Okay.
Is the he will be very dear to Krishna. That's my understanding, Prabhu. Right. But if they are envious, then they will go away. Right. Anyway, they will not be here.
Mm,
At least we should try to say we are not this body, we are the spirit soul. That is the basic understanding everybody should get. Then they will try to explore things, right? If they think that this is my body and we can do whatever we want with this, and this is the only lifetime we need to enjoy, then they will never look at the spiritual. They will never try to get the spiritual knowledge, right? That's my understanding.
okay, bro.
Anybody wants to comment on that?
One other thing, I mean, I'm remembering from the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, right? Prabhupada says, I mean, people should at least understand that the Krishna is the supreme personality of God. It is a person, right?
Mm,
I mean,
right.
I think the soul and all things comes in the second chapter, but at least okay, there is a supreme Lord who is the, I mean, who is a person. I mean, somebody has to have the theoretical understanding about Krishna. So then, I mean, one will be able to get the message of Bhagavad Gita. Otherwise, one will not be able to understand it. Right. I mean, of course, here because I mean, a lot of discussion. I think even Prabhupada also mentioned in the purports why devotees openly share this knowledge with everyone. I mean, envious or non-envious, they can't distinguish, right, before they speak. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in public forums at least. So yeah, but I was thinking, yeah, one who is explains this to non-envious. I mean, somebody is receptive to hear about the Supreme Lord, right? Who is trying to come closer to the Supreme Lord. So who has the understanding that the Krishna is a person, right? Not the impersonalists. So I think it is.
Yeah, they will progress.
Yes.
Right. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare
Please
Krishna,
accept,
Prabhu.
please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, wonderful class. You actually, made it so simple for somebody like me to understand. I had a question, Prabhuji. Now, this knowledge, this knowledge is, given by the Lord to Brahma in 4 verses, and from Brahma, it comes down through Narada Muni, Vyasa Mahadev, and all those people. But it is being clearly said, all the sensory organs and all these things are being managed by these demigods. And if that's the case, and if Brahma is in the highest planetary system, does Mitra, Varuna, and all these demigods control even Brahma's sensory organs? Or does that happen only up to an extent and some other arrangement is there after that?
So your question is whether these demigods control Brahma's senses?
Not only Brahma, anyone who is in Satyaloka. So, are these demigods of a particular planetary system? So, anyone below that, like humans and all the living entities in the material planet here, are controlled by them, that is acceptable. So, is it the same thing with Indraloka? Is it the same thing with Maharloka, Taparloka, and Satyaloka? Yeah. Is it the same arrangement that is happening? Then if that's the case, is Brahma also being controlled by these demigods, or
Actually, I don't know answer for this, Prabhu, but I can speculate, but I don't want to speculate. Anybody else wants to comment on this? Balaram Prasad, Prabhu, you want to talk about this?
Hare Krishna. I have never heard this, Prabhu, because see, this is for the living entity. The whole administration part of it, it's been designed that this comes to a living entity. But I don't think the devatas in the higher planetary system are under, because those are the people who are taking care of us every season, right? In that way, I don't know. I never heard it. I never heard the, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, even that is my understanding. Thanks, Prabhu. Thanks for sharing. It's only like, managers can manage their under employees under them, right? They cannot manage CEO, something like that.
Yeah,
Maybe.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Your voice is breaking, Prabhu.
above the pay grade, Prabhuji?
Yeah.
my internet slow. So my end, if that is the case, that means there is a lot of hierarchies above every, even Brahma. So it is not easy, right? It's actually under the surveillance camera of Vishnu only.
Yeah.
Right? For those people, that doesn't mean that they are under the control of the, again, because there might be a modes acting on them, but that doesn't mean they're under the control of some other devatas like that, because Brahma is the one who created all this.
Yes. He is under control of Vishnu.
Yes.
Or Krishna. Yeah. Okay. Any other comments? I think we are done here. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaः.